Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Gourmet Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Jacob in Wisconsin. We got Tim in Green Bay here to talk about the 53-man roster reveal. Got a bunch of news notes, things like that, to kind of get us set up to dissect this roster breakdown. Really interesting, man. Had a couple surprises. I heard somebody say, "Oh, there was no surprise on this." I'm like, "Well, there was a few for me. Maybe I missed your all's article predicting it like this." But a lot of stuff to talk about for sure. Before we get into it, though, if you guys would, let's do that YouTube stuff. Click like, click subscribe. If you're new here, thanks for making us a part of your evening. Listen, here at PTA, we're not experts, we're not insiders, we're not media members. We are fans just like you here talking Packers on the daily. So if you're looking for daily Packers content, make sure you click subscribe. Make sure you click that bell icon so you're notified every time we go live as well. We're showing a bad connection here. Hopefully that'll clean up. I'm going to see if I can fix what's going on there. They may have changed the settings on us. I think we're good. All right. So, gents, how we doing? What's your initial thoughts on the 53? Obviously, we'll break it down position by position, but how we feeling about this today, guys?
A couple surprises, but I don't think anything we were completely caught off guard by, right? I was a little caught off guard by 9 offensive linemen. Thought we were going to maybe go 10, maybe go 9. Turned out I might have been a little bit right in my prediction that we'd go with 9. But all in all, I think this initial 53 looks really good, obviously pending any changes that'll happen in the next few days, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Jacob, what do you think, man?
I mean, there was definitely a few surprises there. Keeping 4 tight ends, didn't have that on my bingo card, which I understand as to why they did.
Ben Sims, baby, Ben Sims. Let's go.
It. I love both Sims and Fitz. I think that it's going to be great. And then Micah Robinson and Kamal Haddon for sure over King. That one was definitely a little bit of a surprise to me as well. But, we'll get into it here.
Yeah, so it looks like StreamYard, and one thing I didn't check before we went live, they rechecked the recording tabs for us. So that's why our connection is showing bad. It's trying to record every individual webcam here. So
you hear that, Jacob? It's recording every individual webcam.
Yeah. So everybody in the chat, just make sure we let me know, confirm, does the stream look okay, if you don't mind. I'd rather start over if it looks glitchy or bad or anything. Does everything look good on your all's end, fellas? We good?
Yeah, you sound look great as always, Clayton.
So thank you. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a guy.
So full of crap. All right, let's get into it, guys. Well, Deadfish, what do you say? Yeah, King released, but we kept 6 cornerbacks. The 6 cornerbacks was a little bit odd to me. That's one of the things that caught me off guard. Was like I felt like we could have probably, honestly, I wouldn't have been surprised if they'd have kept 4. You know what I mean? Seeing that they decided to cut Kalen King and probably going to try to get him to the practice squad, I would have been okay with trying to get all 3 of them through waivers, but it's obvious that they thought Haddon was a little more valuable than maybe we did going in for sure. So let's just get into it, man. You guys can check this article out over at our Patreon group, patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. Got a couple of other notes in here. Just basically went through and had AI comb through the internet, anything that we may or may not have missed here earlier as the cuts came in. So let's just dive into it, man. Roster reduction overview. The Green Bay Packers reduced their roster to 53 players on Tuesday as a part of the NFL mandated reductions. The team can begin building its practice squad after the waiver process concludes at 11 a.m. Central on Wednesday. So we'll be doing this show tomorrow night, talking about everybody that's getting put on the practice squad. Obviously, everybody's got to clear waivers first and foremost. So the initial 2025 season roster breakdown is listed position by position based on unofficial depth chart, including players kept, released, or placed on injured reserve. I want to hit this real quick before we get into the roster itself. There's a new rule this year, according to AI and what it pulled off the internet. So in past years, Teams had to carry players on the initial 53 if they wanted to start them on injured reserve, but designate them to return during the season. Teams can now designate 2 players during cuts to return from IR during the season without keeping them on the initial 53, and instead use those active roster spots on healthy players instead of subjecting them to waivers or free agency. Those 2 will still count toward the 8 total slots teams have to designate players to return from IR during the season. The Packers used their 2 slots on running back Marshawn Lloyd, who suffered a hamstring injury against the Colts in the second preseason game, and offensive lineman Jacob Monk, who suffered a hamstring injury in Indianapolis. Both Lloyd and Monk will be eligible to return in week 5. So that was one of the big surprises. When I heard people earlier saying, no real surprises here, I'm like, I didn't hear anybody saying Jacob Monk was hurt. Did you guys hear anything about Jacob Monk potentially going on IR?
Nope.
Yeah, same here. So with that being said,
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
With that being said, that's one of the big surprises for me. Although you guys know I was kind of in the camp of Monk didn't show me really anything this offseason. You know what I mean? This, through OTAs up until, training camp, and obviously in the preseason as well. I kind of felt like put him on the practice squad. It seems like they felt like, hey, let's put him on our. And you know what, Tim? Maybe this is why Monk looked so bad. Maybe this is why he was struggling. Maybe there was an injury that we didn't know about because although the coaches will mention injuries throughout the training camp process, they don't have to list an official injury report, right? So maybe they were kind of keeping that close to the vest. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Chestnut checkers. We talk about that all the time, right? Kind of flew under the radar. He could be dealing with something nagging, but clearly they see something in Monk, So I don't know. I don't want to speculate again. I'm not a doctor.
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. What about you, Jake? Did that catch you off guard any at all about Jacob Monk, or was there something I was missing there?
It definitely did catch me off guard. I saw in the chat that I think J. Cole said that Herman had mentioned it. I don't know if that was recently or if that was, like you said, a known thing, but I have to, I'm never going to talk smack about a Packer player or whatever, but I wish I saw more out of Monk. I had a little high hopes for him, really did, to kind of maybe even slip into that center role, and we wouldn't have to force Alton to get there kind of thing when we first originally brought him on the team. So I don't know. It's going to be odd. So he's week 4, right? Both him and Lloyd are designated to return after week 4. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, to return in week 5, according to this here. So
which is a bye week for us, which means extra rehab.
Right.
Let's
That's
go.
Great.
You guys, initially I didn't like that bye week right in week 5, but this kind of plays into our hand a little bit.
Feels like the stars are aligning a little bit here, right?
Let's go ahead, Jacob. Didn't mean to cut you off, bud.
No, you're good. I feel like we should talk about, does the Marshawn Lloyd thing, I've seen so much hate he's getting on Packers Twitters or Packers Facebook pages and that kind of stuff. I saw one really, I only have I think it's the diehard Facebook page fan or something like that they were just saying how basically like we got to ride with the guy, he's a Packer, but it is tough to kind of keep putting your all your eggs in that basket. But at the same time, man, what we've seen from him when he's on the field, I'm really impressed. Like I actually really, to the point where I want to keep giving him a chance, and hopefully maybe he just, like we had some certain types of injuries in the past few years, and we kind of changed up the way that we did some conditioning and some strength training and that sort of stuff. Like if there's a way to get this guy on the field, he definitely helps our team, Yeah,
definitely, man. And again, this is the same stuff they said about Christian Watson too, man. It's like there's a certain portion of the fan base that they just want to pile on players when they get hurt, and there's no one who's more devastated or aggravated or upset about it than the players that are hurt, especially somebody like Marshawn Lloyd, who's trying to prove his worth because he knows if all of a sudden he goes into year 3 and he's got this injury prone tag on him, then it's going to really, really play into the next contract he may get, right? Or may not get, for that matter. So I don't understand fans that try to pile onto that. You could talk about it. There's nothing wrong with having a conversation about it. Hey, man, this guy's been bitten by the injury bug. But to sit here and pretend like it's something that's just absolutely devastating and it ruins their experience as a fan, knowing damn well that player and their family are the ones that experiencing the worst of it. I've got to the point where I just tune it out. Like you lose your fan card with me, man, when you try to pile on a player that's went out there time and time again and try to make it happen and just had the unfortunate luck of getting hurt. Now, if you find out that somebody's faking an injury, isn't it funny too? God, I'm gonna go on a rant. I can't believe this. We didn't get to the roster yet. Isn't it funny how the people that get upset over these players getting hurt, right? And they act like it's just ruined their experience as a fan, are the same ones that are screaming, trade the farm, sell the farm for Micah Parsons, who's faking an injury right now, taking a nap.
Don't worry,
on a training
nobody's
table
listening anyway.
and the people that come at you and go, well, no, he's really hurt and he was on the trainer table. He chose that moment to lay down on a training table rather than be involved in the practice and be a part, helping your teammates if you plan on getting a contract. It's just, I don't know, man. That stuff rubs me the wrong way because camaraderie matters, man. Chemistry matters in the locker room. And just to try to pretend like, well, he's good at football, so let's put all that to the side and there's going to be a separate set of rules for this player. It's mind-boggling to me. But anyway, let's move on to the roster itself here. All right, let's start with quarterbacks. I'll try to get this zoomed in here. No surprise at all here. Quarterbacks, they kept 2, Jordan Love and Malik Willis. They released Sean Clifford and Taylor Elgersma. Now we find out tomorrow if both clear waivers. And if both do clear waivers, do both of them go back on the practice squad, or did you just choose one? I know Matt Schneiden last night, we covered his article. He seemed to think that you would get both of them back on the practice squad. You'd have Sean Clifford in case of an emergency and Taylor Elgersma for the potential upside. Jacob, what do you think about that? Obviously, no surprises here with the quarterback room.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said this morning in the group chat, I just have a sneaking suspicion that somebody's going to look at Elgersma and what he put on film and think, hey, this guy's got some moxie. You know, he's got the size. He's a little more athletic than I think people give him credit for. Obviously, some of the accolades that he gained in Canada. That one would worry me. You know, like I love all the Packers players, always will. But at this point, I just feel like that he makes more sense for the future of the team than Clifford does. But I'd love to have them both back. You know, that's kind of where I stand with that, though.
Got it. Tim,
I agree with Jacob to an extent, but I also think these practice squad spots are valuable, and ultimately, maybe only one of them makes it there. Yeah. You know, I think we might carry 3 altogether, and I would agree that you know, you can put Taylor Elgersma on the practice squad, but you know, there is some tape on him. He's got a cannon for an arm. He's a big body, tall frame quarterback. You know, still kind of learning the American football ways of playing this game, but certainly looked good. Certainly looked good throwing touchdowns to my boy Will Shepherd. You know, I'll just say that. Oh. So I think there's truth to the fact that maybe there's a team out there that might snatch him up. But either way, if that's the case, you feel good about Clifford as your practice squad QB. You know, it's the J Money and Malik Willis show going forward. No problems there, right?
Yeah.
Ron Sample says Canada will clear waivers, in my opinion. I could see him clearing waivers for sure. And again, I just don't see another – I don't see another team going, yep, we're putting him on our 53. He's going to be our second quarterback. Right. You know, having such little experience at the NFL level, you know. Now, if the Packers – wait until waivers clear and then they try to wait 2 or 3 days before they sign them, I could see another team stashing them on their practice squad, right? I could definitely see that happening for sure. So somebody else had a comment on it here too. Jay Cole said, can we bring in another third quarterback? I wouldn't rule that out, Jay. If a player, you know, like we talked about Hendon Hooker, right? Hendon Hooker, if I remember correctly, I can't remember where he was drafted, what pick, but he was a top 30 visit for the Packers, and the Lions cut him loose. Anyone who watched him play at Tennessee his final year in college, really, really impressed. But being down here in the middle of all country, we knew firsthand that, man, that's kind of the Josh Heupel system, man. It can make quarterbacks look really, really good. It's a system that they like to run a lot of Baylor splits and do a lot of RPO out of, that type of thing. And what that allows you to do is have a lot. You can run into a light box with the running back, and the throws are a high efficiency throws, easy throws to make, and it really limits the interception count as well. So that can inflate people's numbers. But obviously, he wasn't good enough for Detroit to keep around there. And
Clayton,
I'm glad go ahead, man. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Not So Cool has a suggestion or wants to know if we can't show, or if we could not show the next positional group, let it be suspense. So I think a lot of these people really haven't seen anything yet. So we don't want to ruin the surprise, like scrolling. So you know what I'm saying?
Okay, zooming in a little bit more. Like
Yeah.
that.
Yes. Perfect. Perfect.
Got it.
Hi, Emilio.
Hi, how are we?
Amelia, I need you to do me a favor, okay?
What's up?
Stop texting us when you're in the shower. I seen your text message. I looked down at the phone and it said, "Hey man, I'm in the shower. I'll be there in a second." Appreciate that, Bob. Appreciate that. Let's move it along. Running backs. They kept 3, no surprise here. They kept Josh Jacobs, Emmanuel Wilson, Chris Brooks. Injured reserve / designated return is Marshawn Lloyd. Okay, released obviously Izzy Abanikanda, Amar Johnson, and Tyrion Davis Price. Now, the question becomes, do you try to fit 2 of those on the practice squad? I don't see a scenario where Tyrion Davis Price makes a practice squad. I could be wrong, but I definitely want Amar Johnson on there. That's my guy. You guys know I've been very vocal about that, although it seems like everybody else in the sports media that I've been listening to, around Green Bay Sports Talk, they seem to like Izzy a lot more than Amar. Am I the only one that sees it as Amar being significantly better? Or do you guys maybe see that extra added value in Israel? We'll start with you there, Emilio.
I was leaning on Amar, but I mean, I guess we'll see once waivers comes around. But I was leaning on Amar. I mean, you gave him a couple more opportunities. I'm really just honestly happy with the 3 we do have, right? I think that was kind of an easier one, especially with Marshawn Lloyd getting hurt. It was like, oh yeah, I'm totally fine with Josh Emmanuel and Chris Brooks. That's a perfect 3. And like Jacob was saying earlier, the 4 tight ends is, I think, what kind of surprised me, but leads me to believe that, hey, we're leaning into 13 personnel for the first 4 weeks and go from there.
Yeah,
I agree. I think maybe Izzy Abanikanda has maybe a slight edge just because of the special team factor. I think maybe, emergency return guy in a pinch. But Amar Johnson looked really good. So, I mean, it's a tough call. I think at least one might end up on the squad, right?
Yeah.
I have to agree. I think that Izzy, the way that they just seem to really like him returning kits is – you good, Emilio?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, I seen it too, Amelia. Just ignore it.
The way they seem to trust him returning.
You think God never farted?
I think that does maybe just give him a little bit of a hair of an inch on him, I guess. But I really liked what I saw out of Amar Johnson. He just seemed like he kind of reminds me a lot more of like Emmanuel Wilson.
Yeah, it looks like Joseph likes Izzy. I see Holmes said he agreed with me. He thought Amar Johnson was better. Deadfish comes in here with the facts that we all need. Hendon Hooker was the 68th player taken in the 2023 draft. So, again, man, I wouldn't be surprised if he's available and multiple teams go out and offer him a practice squad spot. I think I would rather have Hendon Hooker as my practice squad QB than the other 2, or at least one of the other 2, personally. To me, he's got more talent than Sean Clifford, but he's got to learn the offense too. And we know there's going to be a curve there. Obviously, that's something that comes into factor too. So, and again, I don't hate Sean Clifford or anything like that, but when you're talking about getting a top 100 player that you had in for a top 30 visit, albeit maybe the top 30 visit didn't go well for the Packers, so could have been. So, right. All right. Anything else on running backs? Was we good there?
Good.
All right, let's move it along. Wide receivers, we have trying to keep it to where it don't. There we go. Mission accomplished.
This receiving is tough.
So we got 6 players. All right, they kept Romeo Dobbs, Jaden Reed, Dontavion Wicks, Matthew Golden, Malik Heath, and Savion Williams. Physically unable to perform, Christian Watson, so he goes on the PUP list. Released McCole Hardman, Julian Hicks, Cornelius Johnson, Will Shepard, and Isaiah Nair. Now the question is, how many of those guys return back to the practice squad? Do you bring 2 back? You bring 3 back? Do you lean on 4? I don't know how many they'll try to stash there at the wide receiver position, although kind of cool, though. Kind of cool. Malik Heath made the roster. We talked about this last night. We definitely would take Malik Heath over McCole Hardman. So
no block, no rock.
Exactly. Is anybody upset that we kept Malik Heath over McCole Hardman? I mean, I think we kind of called that one, right, Tim? Don't you agree?
Just a little bit, a little bit. And I would not be surprised if McCole is one of those practice squad guys, even if he does get picked up, maybe in the near future by another team. But It just shows what a dog Malik Heath is and has been. Just a guy that does it for you, does the dirty work, good hands, willing to be physical, and brings you a little bit of effort on special teams as well. And I think at this point in time that was the right decision. It's not a knock on McCole Hardman, but I think Malik Heath has certainly carved a role for himself in this receiver room these past couple of years, and you love to see it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Malik is probably going to be the one that's going to get the, looking forward, he's probably going to get the boot back down to practice squad. So you would want somebody that maybe isn't going to get snagged up from the practice squad. Like if you were trying to do that with McCole Hardman, maybe somebody does come around later in the year and snag him. So I'm glad that, you push Malik through, get him on. We have him on there for 5 weeks and we'll go from there. But, perfect guy to be out there. You saw him doing it all. So that's kind of what we need.
Yeah. Let's hit this super chat real quick. And I want to get your take on the receiver room there, Jacob. Aaron Rodgers with the super chat. Thanks, buddy. Says, evening PTA. We're excited about 2025-2026 Super Bowl winning 53-man roster. Also off topic, I might make a trip next year to training camp because I plan on seeing the Yankees and Cubs in Chicago.
Get ready to go.
When I hear Yankees and Cubs, thank you for that super chat, Aaron. Appreciate you. When I think Yankees and Cubs, I think of Babe Ruth calling his shot at Wrigley Field back in the day on Charlie Root, where there's multiple reports, different stories, but Babe Ruth said the Lord was with him when he pointed out there and said, I'm going to hit the next pitch ball past the flagpole. But people in the dugout said, no. He pointed at Charlie Root and said, I'm going to hit the next pitch ball right back down your GD throat. So that might have been
the Lord was definitely with him. So were the cigars, the hot dogs, the daddy sodas, and the whiskey.
I was going to say the whiskey, yeah.
One of the best T-shirts I ever seen. And see, Aaron, super chats like this get us off topic, but I appreciate the support. One of the best T-shirts I seen was Bonds did it on steroids. Babe Ruth did it on hot dogs and beer. Absolutely love that.
Love it. So cool that Aaron is talking about coming to camp next year, man. That's awesome. Make sure you hit me up. We'll link up for sure on your way down to Chicago to watch the Cubs and the Yanks.
Yeah. There you go. Anything else on the receiver room, Jacob? What do you think, man? Are we missing anything here? How do you feel about it? And if nothing catches you off guard here, I want to ask you, you can only pick 2 of those released to make the practice squad. I want you to definitely answer that question.
Yep. I actually, perfect chat question for that from Jay Cole here saying, wouldn't be surprised if we go Nair and Shep. I absolutely liked what I saw from Nair. Really liked what I saw from Shep. I know Tim probably won't not back that take as well. He was a big fan of Mr. Shepard there. So I'm excited about this group. I think that Malik Heath, like you guys said, just deserves to be on this team. I mean, he has been just working, and we've seen the physicality he plays with. And honestly, I think he's underrated because he's not just a physical receiver. He's got some soft hands. He's got late hands. He's got good route running. He's a physical guy. And I just think that, he just really put in the work. And if we could keep, Julian Hicks looked good. Cornelius had his moments. All these guys really did play their hearts out. So it must be really tough today for a lot of these young men. And we got to remember that.
So that's a roundabout way of not answering the question. Who are your 2?
Nair and Shep.
Your 2 from that. Nair and Shep, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Kind of surprised you didn't go with Julian Hicks there.
I would have gone with Hicks and Shep if I were putting my flag on.
Oh, we have a consensus. So Will Shepard is definitely one of the 2, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's go. I love it.
So we got a little Ricky Scoops, Pretty Ricky update here. Y'all want to get a little Micah Parsons, Pretty Ricky update?
Might as well. We're so off track at this point.
Breaking news. All right, here we go. This is about 26 minutes ago, it looks like. Pretty Ricky back on the grind. He said the Packers have a trade on the table with the Cowboys for Micah Parsons with a new contract worth $45 million per year. That's Bark breaking news. Wow, breaking news. Wow, breaking rumor from Ricky. Thoughts, gentlemen? How do we feel about that if it's true? J. Cole said, "Hell no." That's what I'm talking about.
I second Tim's.
I'll third that.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't even know what to think.
Yeah.
50 million. I mean, we're paying him more than what Jordan Love's making. So
I don't know, man. But he's a great player. I'm always going to lead into this conversation with he's a great player, but man, it seems like a lot if that does prove to be true. This is the second time that Ricky's tweeted about this now. And you guys know Ricky dunked on Adam Schefter the other night. I can't remember. Oh, it was the Terry McLaurin thing. Adam Schefter said they are way far apart. And Pretty Ricky said this deal's about done. And lo and behold, Terry McLaurin gets signed. So,
well, we know 45 milli's around where Micah wants to be, right?
Yeah.
As far as a contract based on his, representation and everything. My question is what is the trade on the table? Because we've talked about those crazy scenarios with multiple draft picks and Rashawn Gary and all this nonsense. So, like, what is the actual trade that's on the table? And, what are the specifics? That's what I'm curious, to know.
Yeah. For me, I've said it before, Tim, first and the third is what I would give up. It's the contract that bothers me a little
45 million, Clay.
That's the thing. I mean, that's the tough part, but yeah, I mean, here's the thing. That's the rate.
Yeah.
That's the reality
but
of it.
Are we going to be paying LVN 45 million when we go to give him a second contract?
Right. And here's the thing too. Early rumors, not from Pretty Ricky, but just random people, tweeting about it. They were saying that the Cowboys would get a player back, right? And I hope this doesn't happen. However, if you're talking cap wise, if they traded Rashawn Gary back, that's going to make that it's going to be easier to absorb that 45 million per for the cap. I just don't understand how that helps your defense, man. Because at that point, let me put it this way: you guys know how I feel about Rashawn Gary, right? I'm a Rashawn Gary stan. I think he's so underappreciated; it's not even funny. However, would I see? It hurts me with that being up there. Would I trade Rashawn Gary for MICAH Parsons straight up? Let's start there. I would. MICAH Parsons a little bit younger, right? He's probably got more upside, and maybe LVN can play that role of Gary, seeing that he's shown some flashes in the run defense type thing. So will the Cowboys do that? Absolutely not. So now it comes, how much would you give with Rashawn Gary, right? Because what's going to happen is if you trade Rashawn Gary, and this is just theoretically speaking, if you were to trade Rashawn Gary there, you're going to balance this out to where the balance sheet's probably going to come out to about 15 million more on the cap, adding MICAH Parsons, essentially what it comes down to, right? But what would you be willing to give up along with Rashawn Gary for him? Rashawn Gary was a first-round pick to me, so I would probably give up Rashawn Gary in a third. That's the only that would be as high as I would go. If we hear news break that they trade Rashawn Gary 2 firsts, a third, and all this, it's going to be hard for me to defend Goody on that, man. Because again, I just don't. MICAH Parsons is a great player, but I'll tell you who MICAH Parsons, or who is built like MICAH Parsons and plays like MICAH Parsons, is Edgerrin Cooper. I don't think you need 2 Edgerrin Coopers running around. I think you need a run stopper up front off the edge, and you need Edgerrin Cooper to stack backer. You know what I mean? That's the way I see it, but I could be wrong. So it seems like everybody in the chat pretty much agrees that we like the edge room right now. Do y'all agree with that, fellas? It seems like that's a consensus. Or
there's a couple people that say that this could be the kind of the finger on the scale that would maybe make us into a Super Bowl contender, but I would say it's about 90% doesn't want to touch him with a 10-foot pole.
That's kind of where I'm at, man.
Are they even allowed to figure out the 45 million outside of him getting traded over? Like, I didn't think that was supposed to be part of the trade clause.
Well, let me ask you this, Emilio. Yeah, they're not allowed to, right? But who is Jordan Love's agent?
The same agent as Micah has, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
So if we think for a second that they're not talking behind the scenes, this is that whole tampering thing,
Absolutely.
Yeah, now I understand exactly what you're saying. I think there is a rule in place there. Now, the Cowboys can grant permission, and if the Cowboys are seeking a trade, if they're actively seeking a trade for MICAH Parsons, then yes, this can be totally legal in that regard.
Right.
That makes sense. So, way I understand it anyway. So, Mungie Cheddar Bug says, I feel like trading Gary away would kick the locker room culture in the nuts. I think that is very well said, Bungie. I do.
That's
Yeah,
why
and
it's
then-
so hard
and
for
then-
me to wrap my head around these proposed trades, because to me the most sense would be if you want to bring Micah Parsons in, put him on the field with Rashawn. And then I think of, okay, well, if it's not Rashawn and picks, then where are we dipping into our personnel plus draft picks to trade? In both of those scenarios, I don't like. I definitely don't like, Rashawn and draft picks for Micah Parsons. I just don't. I agree with that sentiment.
No.
Yeah. And just want to give a shout out to Steve Cook, who tagged me in this tweeter. I would not have even seen it here. So appreciate you taking the time to do that. Anything else on the Micah Parsons rumor here?
I think Jerry will pay him in a year like $50 million, and we'll be done with this.
Yeah, I hope so.
I agree.
Our Aaron Rodgers has another super chat. He was one of the ones that did support it, it sounds like. He says, we have our core under rookie deal. This is a win now move. Pair him with Gary. For those worried about locker room, Woodson was a cancer in Oakland. But it sounds like I just don't still want to do it, man. What do you think?
If you're talking about
Well, if we
pairing
pair
him
him with Gary, does that mean trading a receiver? Does that mean trading what does that mean?
The rumors were LVN might potentially be on the table to send back. So now here's the thing: player for player, would I take Micah Parsons for LVN? I absolutely would take that trade. I think LVN can be a great player, but Parsons is already a great player. You pair him with Gary, that is a Super Bowl kind of.
It's so rare to see an edge for an edge, though, right? Or a player for a player type of
trade. There'd be picks too, of course, Tim. It wouldn't just be that trade there alone. You know what I mean? So, it's interesting. It's an interesting take. And as far as Woodson, the reason that he, when he say he was a cancer in Oakland, he was sleeping in meetings and all that stuff, right? Well, no other team made an offer to him. So when he came to Green Bay, he actually caused stink in practice and got into it with the coach. I'm pretty sure we found out later it was Mike McCarthy, and Mike McCarthy ran his ass off the practice field. And then they sat down and had a talk with his agent and everything. They ironed it out. And then from that point forward, Charles Woodson was obviously the team leader that he turned out to be. So you make a valid point, Aaron. You really do. But at the same time, I'm not as concerned about Micah walking into our locker room and being a problem, because like I said the other day, he's going to walk in and have to stare at Kenny Clark and Rashawn Gary in the eye. He's going to have to stare those. You know what I'm talking about? On offense, you got the quiet leader in Jordan Love that he's absolutely won the respect of the locker room. You got people like Zach Tom, who's punching out 3 different Seahawks in a joint practice. I don't think he's going to take any crap off Micah. You know what I mean?
Norris.
There you go, Tucker Kraft. Get him in there. So anyway, I didn't plan on spending any time on this, obviously, but I feel like it was important that we kind of hit on it for sure. This right here, I can't get behind. Pack fan Iowa says it's a Reggie White move, guys. Micah Parsons is not Reggie White. He's not.
Don't put that name in my mouth right there.
I mean, no disrespect, man. We can agree to disagree on this. I'm going to give my take. You just gave yours. Micah Parsons is not a quarter of the leader that Reggie White was. Micah Parsons can't play a 1-tech, can't play a shade, can't play a 3, and then kick back out to a 5-7 or a 9. Okay, Micah Parsons isn't literally throwing 320-pound tackles with one hand. Micah Parsons wouldn't go out there and play with a torn hamstring in the playoffs. Like that, when I hear that, man, it kind of makes my skin crawl, because that's not a Reggie White type move. And also,
speaking of Micah Parsons in the playoffs, y'all remember that game a couple of years ago in Dallas?
Aaron Jones smacked him in the chest.
Where was Micah Parsons in the playoffs?
And again, if we get him, I'm on
playoffs.
If we get him, team's better. I'll be a Micah Parsons fan because I'm a Packers fan. That's the way that'll go. But to sit here and pretend like he was Reggie White, man, I just can't. And that's no shot at Packer fan in Iowa saying that. There's been multiple people saying that on Twitter, and I'm just like, that's why I haven't even touched those tweets. I'm like, I don't even know how to respond to that, because that's just not the player he is, in my opinion. So, but we'll see, man. Anything else, Emilio? You got anything else to add to this? I know you're excited about this talk. I can see it all over your face.
I'm so far past this right now. I appreciate everybody.
Whatever. You were thinking about it in the shower. We all know.
No, I wasn't.
The only thing
Talking about. That's my job.
All right, let's move. Oh, spoiler alert. Oh, here we go. Let me get it back on track here. So we talked about receiver, right? Let's get to tight end real quick. Tight end, 4 players. This was kind of a surprise to me. I didn't
Yep.
expect them to keep 4. I didn't see anybody's roster projection having them keep 4 either. That's why I kind of cackled when there were people saying, oh, no surprises here. Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave, John Fitzpatrick, and Ben Sims. They released Messiah Swinson and Johnny Lumpkin, so they decided to keep 4, which tells me, Tim, they were a little concerned, right, that Ben Sims probably going to get picked up off the scrap heap there if they let him go. So it just shows you that they're probably going to press into 12 and maybe even a little 13 personnel, like Emilio was saying, as you start off early in the season.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, we talked about Ben Sims starting camp really well and then kind of not hit a wall, but just kind of got lost in the mix there and then kind of maybe finished strong. So, it is kind of surprising because I was convinced, at least I know a couple of us were, that we would keep 3. It would be Tuck, Luke Musgrave, and Fitzpatrick. So I think it does make sense that if you're keeping 4, Sims is your guy with Swinson and Lumpkin, knocking on the door. The question is, I think with 4 tight ends, I don't think they keep either of these 2 on the practice squad as far as Swinson or Lumpkin, right?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. We got to hit this real quick. Member for 11 months, Nick McSwain. Thank you for the support, Nick. He says Parsons' pressures in 23 was 103. Packers' pressures in 24 was 120. Why are we comparing 2 different years? I don't understand that. It almost feels like there's cherry picking going on there. I could be wrong. So, and obviously last year with the Packers, very, very run focused defense there up front. We talked about that ad nauseum, so we don't want to beat that dead horse. But yeah, he can get after the quarterback. There's no doubt, man. No doubt about that. But why was Dallas's run defense so bad? If he's so good, you know what I mean? Like,
because it's more fun to rush the passer, Clay, than stop the run.
Yeah, and maybe you're playing from behind a lot because you can't stop the run. That could be something to do with it too, right? So,
yes, yeah.
All those things come into play for sure. But appreciate the support, Nick. All right, tight end. Let's keep going around the horn there, man. I keep getting sidetracked with all this, but I definitely want to acknowledge the super chats and everything.
Wow, the MICAH Parsons talk is almost taken over the Max Crosby talk that we had a few months ago, right?
They went off that quick, didn't we, man? Like, people just lost that energy real quick when we started I started laying out stats with no names attached, and people were choosing Rashawn Gary every time over Max Crosby, over TJ Watt, and everything. It's wild. Well, anyway,
yes, sir.
Tight ends, Jacob. Tell me about it here. You good with this?
I'm good with it. I definitely thought that we would only carry 3 at the most, just to free up some of the other kind of matchups and stuff that we had. But, I've been a Ben Sims fan since we signed him. I thought John Fitzpatrick has just done kind of like Malik Heath, just always shows up. Seems like he's always producing, like he's getting better. He's an ascending player, like we always talk about. I feel like that both of those young men are ascending players. And then obviously I think we know what we have in Tuck Norris, and I think what we could potentially have with Luke Musgrave, if he stays healthy, that could be an absolute lethal room, to the point of, I don't know many other teams' tight ends that have that kind of versatility and that sort of the RAS level, the way that these guys are gritty. You watch Tuck Norris diving for some of these like layout balls, and the way that Musgrave's speed is kind of unmatched right now. Like that's very intriguing. Like Emilio talked about, if you ever got into a position where you wanted to run like a 13 personnel, there's your guys right there. We got a nice setup for that.
Yeah, and rotating them too. That last game you saw Musgrave actually at the sidecar next to Malik in the backfield. I think it was with Josh or Emmanuel. So you're flexing Musgrave around. You're keeping Kraft on the line. You're going to need Fitzpatrick if you want to go. You could have 2 tight ends on the line, 1 at H-back, all these different things that Matt can kind of, finagle with. And especially, I think us having 6 wide receivers tells me that they're healthier than we maybe had thought, which is huge. But if you do run into a pickle, all right, we lean on it like we did at the beginning of last year, lean on the run a little bit, 12, 13 personnel, rotate them, and then, move forward with what you have. Those guys can also play special teams, keep them out there and just kind of keep going. I like that we did keep 4, but I think it tells you a little bit on where the offense might be heading.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
All right, so there's the tight end position. Nick McSwain said MICAH Parsons only played in 7 games, I think. That's not true. He played in 13, had 654 snaps. We actually did a statistical comparison of how Rashawn Gary was a much, much, much better run defense in terms of stop rate percentage based off of the snap count and everything. So, but yeah, he did play in 13 games last year. So. All right, offensive line. This was I don't want to say a surprise. Anytime I'm one of these guys that I kind of feel like you can break camp with 8 if you trim down spots. You know what I mean? Basically the way I see it is you got 5 offensive linemen. You can always call people up from the practice squad, but you got 5 starters. Have 3 backups, right?
Yep.
Have a guy who can play center, and sometimes that might be your starting guard, that might be your backup guard, what have you. But have a backup guard, a backup center, a backup tackle type thing, and then of course on game day, call people up from the practice squad. So that's 8 is kind of that number where I still feel somewhat comfortable with that. But they went with 9 here. They kept Elton Jenkins, Aaron Banks, Zach Tom, Rasheed Walker, Sean Ryan, Jordan Morgan, Anthony Belton, Darian Kennard, the new offensive lineman they traded for, and Donovan Jennings. Injured reserve / designated for return is Jacob Monk. That was a surprise to us. Physically unable to perform, John Williams with the back surgery. Obviously not a surprise there. Released Kadeem Telford, Trey Hill, Lasita Smith, Tyler Cooper, J.J. Lipe, and Brant Banks. So the big thing here for me, guys, and this is why I love breaking this down, I love the fact that Aaron Banks didn't go on any kind of IR. That tells me the back is pretty close. I expect him to be out there week 1. If not week 1, then definitely probably by week 2, right? So that's a good sign there. I guess we'll start with you this time, Jacob, on the offensive line. We'll just run straight down the line. What do you think about the offensive line here and how they approach this? And do you agree with what I said about Aaron Banks? Seems like that's a good sign he's getting healthy.
Yeah, definitely. He was. I will admit, as a Packer fan that doesn't know nothing other than just my internal emotions and all that, my opinions, I was today. I kind of was a head scratcher when they made that move for Banks, and this most recent one with Kennard, it kind of made me kind of be like, well, why? Like, what is the reason? But in years past, I've been proven wrong time and time again, and it just feels like that. So like Benny D is that we're trying to move in a different direction here. We want to have some big old road graders up there. Whether that means that we're going to try to emphasize the run a little more with Josh Jacobs, and when we saw how I forget that Jacobs was a 13-yard rusher last year and was kind of dominant. If it wasn't for how good Saquon and Derrick Henry and those types of guys did, it's just like that's kind of the way it feels like the league is moving. We talked about so many different times. Thank you, Tim.
I mean, he did retire Tyrann Mathieu, so
yeah, we talked about how many times that in that Philadelphia game, the second we lost our guys, it just fell apart. It fell apart fast. So these moves do make sense if you want to look at it in the area of having that really good rotation. Like you said, Clayton, I could have seen us even being risky and keeping 8. I could have seen us taking 10. But I think the biggest one to me was I feel like they liked Donovan Jennings a little more than we thought they liked him. And that's kind of interesting to me. But other than that, I like we talked about already in this podcast, I was kind of surprised by the Monk thing. Didn't know if he'd been hurt that well or that much. I think the biggest surprise for me would be Kadeem Telford being cut, just because he's just seemed like kind of that that tackle that had some upside that maybe they were trying to, like, what was it? Caleb Jones? It was just a mountain of a man that, that was kind of my biggest surprise. What about you?
Yeah. They must feel comfortable that Kadeem Telford's going to make it to the practice squad. He's going to be one of those guys where, obviously you're going to carry multiple here. Benny D in the chat says average size like 6'5", 320.
I put the team on my back, dude.
What do you think about this, Tim, this offensive line group here, bro? And I want to apologize to people in the chat. I see people complaining because we talked about MICAH. I understand your frustration completely. I get it. I really do. So go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, I'm there with you too. I feel your pain. As far as the O-line, I'm with Jacob. Kadeem Telford, I mean, we talked about that at the game. He kind of does remind you of, Caleb Jones, just a physically imposing beast of a man out there. Probably a guy that I would think of the released O-linemen, since they went 9 and not 8 and not 10. Maybe there are 2 that they hold over on the practice squad. My picks would be Telford and Lasita Smith. I like Lasita Smith because he's got some experience and he's basically anywhere in the middle on that line, right guard, left guard, center, even if you need him. So I could see those being practice squad guys. But I guess my big question with the initial 53 guys on the roster is who's your starting left tackle week 1, right? Is it going to be Sheed or is it going to be Jordan Morgan? It'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, it's just tough not seeing my boy on there,
I knew that was going to happen.
But besides that, no, I was leaning on Telfort last night. Yeah, but it kind of makes sense. You need somebody inside. You can have Morgan that can pop out to tackle, all that. But, looking at the roster, we knew 7 of them were going to make it, right? Elton, Aaron, Tom, Walker, Sean Ryan, Jordan Morgan, and Belton were all going to make it. Then you spend draft on Kennard. He's making it. So you really only had 1 or possibly 2 spots. Monk was a surprise for me. Him being on IR, didn't know he was hurt or anything like that. But, yeah, just hopefully Kadeem makes it back because he can play guard. They threw him in there. He got worked in the Eagles right after my boy Glover got subbed out real quick just because he needed a breather. We'll be all right at O-line now that I think that they've kind of approached it the right way. Let's just get Aaron Banks back and see what that 5 does.
Somebody in the chat just said Kay just tweeted a cryptic tweet. Kay Adams.
She said she tweeted "you guys" with a period.
I've got it right here. The comments are worth pulling up.
The comments are firing up, Clay. That's what I was just taking a peek at.
Let's do it.
Oh yeah, I mean, we might as well just call the show.
All right. So Kay Adams said she's been in the middle of this Micah Parsons thing, right? She just said, "You guys, right? This better be, Big B. This better be what I think it is. Say Micah's a Packer. I dare you, Kay. Please." Hi, Kay. This guy's shooting his shot. Look at this. Look at this one right here.
That's fair.
What do you know, baby girl? Bartholomew said that. All right. Look. Go ahead and say it. Don't give me hope. So that's what I'm saying. Packers Twitter, man, they want him bad. The majority of them do, I believe. Well, I don't know. But, yeah. Thought it was pretty funny. Anyway, we've got to the point in today's NFL where it's Kay could literally tweet "you guys" and everybody immediately thinks Micah's a Packer. Oh, this feels like Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers all over again, does it not, boys?
You hurt me, Brett.
All right, that's offensive line. Anything else on O-line, man? Anything at all?
No. Did you guys answer who you think would be the most likely to return to practice squad?
In terms of offensive line, I think mine would be probably Kadeem Telfort and Lasita Smith. If you keep a third, many people haven't talked about this. I thought Brant Banks had a really good preseason. That's one that kind of surprised me a bit, but I don't know. That would be mine. What do you guys think?
I'd say Telfort and Smith.
Telfort and Smith, and then Banks is your honorable mention, right?
Yeah, I probably would have said Telfort, Smith, and Hill, but yes.
Okay, Trey Hill. Got it. All right, because Lasita Smith, didn't he play played a little center, didn't he, for us?
Yeah,
absolutely. Right? Yeah. Yep. That's an interesting one. So, all right, that's going to do it for hour 1. For those of you listening on the pod, we'll see you on the other side for hour 2, where we'll try not to talk about Micah Parsons, and we will talk about the defensive players that made the 53-man roster. We appreciate y'all.